live the life that I wanted to live. So 6 months later, I asked the owner of the company I wanted to go into sales. And he looked at me and he said, "You'll be great." So fast forward, I spent 25 years in sales and sales leadership in high tech, and really enjoyed it. Went back to school, finished my degree at age 32 at the University of Texas at Dallas. So when I go back to that thought about things being nonlinear, you know, I was kind of all over the place. But it was my journey, it was my path. And so about when I had my daughter, which I think she's in here somewhere, I decided to take some time off and kind of reevaluate. I started doing sales consulting for small businesses. And a few years ago, my husband said, "If something happened to me, would you still be doing what you're doing?" And I was like, "God, that's such a great question." Because I said, "Actually, I wouldn't." And he's like, "Well, what would you do?" And I said, "I would go to film school. I would, this performance side, you know," I'm like, "I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna go be a Broadway dancer at this time in my life, but I can still dream and I can still put together, you know, what are those skills?" And there is a author by the name of Cal Newport, and he wrote a book called So Good They Can't Ignore You. And he's a scientist, and he was out to challenge the idea that that skills trump passion, okay? So he basically says it's when you want to feel passionate, you're asking someone to give you something to make you feel that way. It's to fill you up. But when you hone your skills and you use your gifts, like I had in the video, that is really a craftsmanship, and it's a gift that you're giving others. So when I said I want to go to film school, I'm like, there's got to be a way that I can connect all of this crazy path, this curvaceous career that I've had. There's got to be a way to connect that. And so I went to Austin School of Film, wrote, directed, and produced my first short film, which I was very proud of. And it was really about my adventure of applying for the FBI. That's a whole nother chapter that we can, it was a 14-month process that we can talk about later. But it was, a woman had been watching me from Dell. She'd been kind of following me, you know, my path and what I've been doing. And she called me one day and she said, "I have a challenge for you. I really would love for you to convert some of our corporate." So we started this conversation. And that was over 2 years ago. And now I'm on my 6th project with them. And I wanted to share a quick slice of one of the projects that I did for them quickly.
What did you major at UTD?
I majored in psychology. So what's interesting is I took this, just for fun, I took this career quiz recently, and it said that I should be in health sciences, psychology, media, and technology. And so it's like, oh, everything's come full circle. So my point in the whole skill building is that everything I'm doing today is what I spent my whole career doing. And it's like, I'm not working a day in my life. Like, I love it. So let me play this one more, and then we will just... So they have, a big initiative around diversity and inclusion, and this was one of the pieces that I did. But so with that said, I wanted to turn it over to questions. Do you have any? Yes.
So you said that they called on you to get you started.
Mhm.
Your first project working with them, what was that like? Did you get trained, or did you have to figure it out yourself?
I figured it out. I mean, so here's the deal. When someone believes in you, that's the magic. So this person had known me for 4 or 5 years. We were friends, but not close, just kind of business friends. And when I think the important thing is to scope out exactly what you know. So one of my gifts is to have the vision. So this comes back from my dancing and choreography. So for my whole life, as early as I can remember, I could see, the parts coming together. And so that's really, and then I just hired people who knew what they were doing. And then it really came down to being a project manager and a visionary. And then just, promising on, delivering. That's the whole thing. You have to get a good gauge on what things cost. And so through my sales background and experience, I really knew well how to price things out and make it profitable. I think that's the big miss sometimes, is people underestimating how things cost, whether it be talent or resources or, so that's a good question. Uh-huh.
How much time do you normally take from idea to finished product?
Great question. So it all depends on what Dell's timeline is. The first project I did for them, they wanted to convert animated, very rudimentary animated content to live action. And we were able to, and actually I have a sample of that too, but I know we're running short on time. You want me to show it?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, let me show you this first project I did for them. And we may not play the whole thing, but this one was done here. Let me show this one.
Well, hello, I'm April, your project leader. I'm just about to go inside 3 Cell Tech. I'm excited we're working together.
Hi, I'm April, your project leader. I'm going to 3 Cell Tech again today. I've already had an initial meeting with the team about an upcoming project we can help them with. Here's what I know so far.
Yes, you need to know cinema has tight deadlines.
Hi, April. I know we've emailed, but I wanted to brief you on the key points of this project myself.
Wow, that's a lot of news to take in.
Well, that's a lot of news to take in.
Okay, so I think y'all get the picture. But anyway, so we did that in 60 days, and it was like, I was telling my husband the other day, I was like, that is a miracle. Like, it's a miracle when I think back on it. It was, gosh, getting all the talent together and working through the COVID situation, and it just was getting the location. I mean, there's a lot to it. No, I will never, never underestimate it. But, you've heard the fake it till you make it, but I have confidence in the skills that I've honed over the years, and one of those is communication too. Okay.
These folks all have to do presentations, 10 minutes and 10 minutes each.
Oh.
What suggestions would you give them for storyboarding? How do you get that idea in frames?
Okay, so it goes back to a little bit about what Ms. Perry was saying about kind of the idea, right? So I use a tool called Miro, M-I-R-O. It's amazing. Have any of you used Miro? Okay, you should check out, and I think they might have a free version, but it's a very simple drag and drop. What I do is I call it I map things to, so they had certain learning objectives, right? So they wanted to teach these certain skills. So I just kind of reverse engineer it. So I say, okay, what's the outcome? And then I, put down kind of what the flow is gonna be just in a very, straw man, wireframe, whatever you want to call it. And I just kind of map it out visually what I want the outcome to be. And then I go in and I write. So same, I don't write anything until, we get approval on this is the basic concept. And then once a week I meet with the client and say, okay, this is what I wrote, this is the script, what am I missing? They like to use certain language, that's specific to them. But I just think, get it out visually on whether even if you draw it with your, with pencil, and then fill in the blanks. And there's obviously I read a lot about. There's a great book called How to Write, Dramatic Writing, How to Write Screenplays. I follow some of the people on social media who are, current writers, and it's no longer necessarily this arc. There's a lot of you can really go kind of up and down and in and out and make it a very winding road, if you will. But I think it's always keep the audience in mind is the number one. Who is going to be reading this, looking at this, watching this? And I think that's the most important thing, is to know your audience.
One last question, anybody?
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're so sweet. Oh my God. Yes, next month, February 3rd, I'll be 56. You're very sweet. I had Lily late in life. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Pringle.
You just made my damn dance.